Hey, what's up, everybody? Political Brown Kid here. And today I'm going to try to keep this video short and sweet. I keep saying that, and I never do because I like to run my mouth and I have nobody else to talk to but you people out there. If anybody's listening, which I highly doubt. But this is one thing that I want to talk to you guys about because I just had a conversation with my neighbor this morning, and I'll tell you guys about that. But let me tell you a quick story. Before I tell you this, let me tell you a quick story which definitely relates. So, back in about a couple of years ago, I'm not going to mention how many years ago, but about a couple of years ago, I was moving. I'm currently in the house that I moved to, but a couple of years ago, me and the wifey, we were in the market for a bigger house, for another house, should I say. We were looking to go bigger. So, currently in the Maryland area, and we were saying, let's go over to Virginia. Let's go into Virginia because, I've lived in DC, told you I'm born and raised Washingtonian, lived in DC, born and raised, moved to Maryland, stayed here. And so I said, man, let's go into Northern Virginia. So we're looking around. And of course, my budget isn't as fly as everybody else's budget because, hey, look, it is what it is. I mean, I can afford some stuff, but hey, I was trying to keep my price range, relatively decent, should I say. Um, and so me and the wifey started looking. And I had an Indian buddy, dots, not feathers, from India. He's from India. He got man, me and him was talking. And this guy, he's actually real cool. He's a coworker of mine. Indian people love me for some reason. They love hanging out with me at work. I don't know why. They just love me. But me and him, we talk, we grew real cool with one another. So, he calls me bruh, and we chop it up. He's an older cat too. He's an older cat. So so one day he called me up on the phone and I'm at home sitting outside. He always wanted me to come with him, hang out with him in Falls Church and sit outside and watch the falls. I never did. I wish before he moved away, I wish I had sat out there with him, met up with him on one weekend and just hung out with him. But he called me up one weekend and he was just like, hey man, what's going on? Boom, boom, boom. So we were just talking and chatting. So I told him, I said, in the midst of the conversation, I said, yeah, man, I'm in the process of getting ready to move, and so he was just asking me where I was moving to. And so we were moving into Virginia. Now, of course, I can't afford really McLean. I can afford McLean. It's just that I'd be eating brown bag lunches every day. And I don't do that. I like to eat out. We very rarely cook in this house. So I like to, when I order out, I like to order restaurant food. I do, fast casual type food too, but we like to eat out. So we were trying to keep our budget relatively smooth. And so no McLean, no Tyson's, no downtown Alexandria, the good side, no Arlington. So we were just looking. So I mentioned to him, I said, man, I'm thinking about Springfield. I have somewhat familiarity with Virginia. I'm familiar as far as, like I said, I grew up in DC, stomped the DC, Maryland, Virginia streets a lot. But, from an older cat perspective of where to live and how to maneuver in Virginia, there's not too many spots that I can tell you about. I can tell you about some high profile stuff, Roslyn, blah, blah, blah. But as far as me affording and what's in my budget and what I'm looking for, I rely on other people because a good thing of knowing and being smart is knowing what you don't know. So he came up to me and he said, man, so he asked me again, he said, yeah, so what are you thinking about looking? I said, man, I'm thinking about Springfield, Virginia. So he got quiet. He went real quiet and he said, in his Indian voice, I'm not going to do it because I don't want you guys to feel as though I'm trying to mock Indians, but I love my Indian people, man. So he said to me, Alan, uh, there's a lot of Hispanics. And then he just faded out. He just left it at that. And he said, so I'm going to tell you, he faded out for about 30 seconds. He said, there's a lot of Hispanics. He faded out. And then he said, you would be better off going to Annandale. And I never heard of Annandale at that point. I've been through Annandale, but I never knew the name of that town. So he said, you'd be better off in Annandale. If you're looking for a place with those type of houses and that type of budget, go to Annandale. And then he was like, and then me and you can kick it down in Great Falls all the time. Boom, 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 boom. So when I got off the phone with him, I was laughing. I told my wife, I said, yeah, he told me there's a bunch of Hispanics in Springfield. I said, so what did he be thinking about black people? Because I'm telling well, Indians are starting to move into the black parts of Maryland. But I'm going to tell you, people are inherently biased and prejudiced. People inherently, and people segregate themselves. So segregation and the meat of this conversation is going to be prejudice and segregation are not bad things. They're not negative. I got Indian people on my job. I'll tell you right now, they live in Howard County. I told you, Indian people love me. They love me. Me and this Indian girl, we real cool. She, so she has her family. So she was also, me and her was talking on the job. We was eating lunch together. And she was just like, we were talking about moving. And so she was telling me about her neighborhood and she loves it because she's in Howard County. I'm telling you, when you bougie in the DC metro area, if you're going to live in Maryland, you either in Silver Spring and Montgomery County, or you're in Howard County, you're in Anne Arundel County. You either there. You're not in PG, at least the bourgeois. If they in PG, they in Bowie, Maryland. I'm telling you. So take a hint for all you people who listening to this. Y'all probably like, where in the hell are these places? But I'm just dropping some gems for all my DC people out here who know. But I'm sitting there eating lunch with her, and so she's telling me about her neighborhood, and so she asked me I'm moving too. So she said, so I tell her where I'm looking. So now I backed off of Virginia. Now I'm back looking in Maryland. And even when I mentioned Bowie, Maryland, she said, no. Come out to Howard. You want to be in Howard County. Come out to Howard. No, you can't be in PG. And that's what she said. She didn't say why, but I know why she said why. Because she like, there's a bunch of black people there. And, I'm black, but she wasn't going to say it. So there are a lot of things that people think but do not say. Because this world is so crazy now where you can't say anything. You can't speak your mind. And white people, I hate to dump on y'all, but y'all made this like this. Your forefathers made it like this, where people can't speak their mind freely. Because y'all created this whole racial construct stuff. There are racial constructs, but y'all created this whole negative environment around it. So I'm saying that to say this. I know I've been talking for 7 minutes, but race and prejudice are not bad things. Because let me tell you, again, I've told y'all before, and y'all should listen to my blog. I grew up in DC next to in some Hispanic family after I've been living there for 18, 19 years. Once I hit my college years, a Hispanic family moved in. And I tell you, the DC houses are not huge. They're not McMansions. They're about 1,500 square feet, 1,800 at the most, I guess. And lo and behold, a Hispanic family moved in, first generation. Let me be more specific. I'm not really talking about all Hispanic. I'm really talking particularly about those first generation middle class Hispanics, the working class, first generation, barely speak English Hispanics. When they move into your neighborhood, it's a cultural difference. When I lived in DC, like I told you, they're the nicest people. This dude used to offer me Coronas every Friday. Every Friday he walked from the bus stop and he came down the street. I'd be outside washing my car, because I'm 18, 19. That's all I had. He barely spoke English, but he always spoke to me, and he always reached in his bag and offered me a Corona. And I always told him, no, I don't drink. I don't drink, bruh. And he would go to the house, and then we would smile at each other. Nice guy. But had way too many cars, way too many people living there, growing corn in the front yard, bunch of trash that piled up on the streets, and then we had rats in the neighborhood. And my father had to go down there and talk to him to tell him how to, my father's, he likes to help people out. He talking to him how to bag his stuff up, how to keep his trash, to keep stuff, because we had to have the city come in. The neighbors signed a petition or something to get the city to come in to help exterminate the rat issue that we had. And my father helped lead that. So now me as a grown adult living in my neighborhood, and y'all gonna have the pictures. I'm showing y'all pictures in this blog, hopefully, that you guys can see. Lo and behold, a first generation Latino family has moved in across from me now after I bought this particular house. And They went from having 4 cars to now they're up to 9 cars because they have 5, 6 cars, and then the tenants have 3 and 4 cars. They're up to 9 cars. And as you can see in this video too, you'll see a car parked blocking the sidewalk. And it's just that when you are an American and I've grown up in them. I'm like a 4th, 5th generation American. We're not used to this. At least when I go down South Carolina and North Carolina, I'm used to it. Trust me, I am. But I'm not used to seeing stuff like this. Not in this neighborhood. So when you move in and you do stuff like this, when you have 8 and 9 cars all over the street, and by the way, in this picture, you don't even see half the cars they have. When you allow your other family members who go out of town and go back to wherever they're going and they stay for a month, and you allow them to just park in your neighborhood and dump their car so that you can watch over their car, you burden your other neighbors. When you allow your dog, my neighbor, I was talking to him this morning. I mentioned to y'all, I was just talking to him this morning. And he told me, man, their dog was in my garage because these people during the wintertime, it's so cold, they don't come out the house. They just open up the front door, let the dogs out, let them run the neighborhood, and let them come back. I've called animal control several times. Animal control does not work on people with poor values. The police won't do anything about it. When you throw parties every 3 days and you have a bunch of cars just gathering around, when you don't cut your grass, it's a cultural shock. So this point of this video is about prejudices and segregation. And the reason why I say prejudice is not a bad word. So let me get back on topic, but I had to give you this, guys, some context. We make prejudices every day. People take in information every day. If a white woman has an experience where she's traumatized by some black person, and all she sees every time her car gets stolen or tampered with, it's a black person, and she makes an inference that certain black people do X, Y, and Z, I can't take that experience away from her. Where she may cross the line is when she starts saying all black people, and then she starts, throwing in, derogatory slangs and certain things like that. That's when you cross a line. Prejudice is not a bad thing. You'll hear a lot about in society today with data analytics, how everybody is the analysis of data and corporate data is big business. The company Palantir does this. If you're not familiar with Palantir stock, get familiar with it. IBM has developed IBM Watson, which does nothing but analyze data. Data analytics is huge. Human beings have been doing data analytics for eons. When I walk down the street, I do it with my own people. If I'm walking down the street, when I was growing up in DC, if I'm walking down the street and I see a certain group of people looking a certain way on a corner late at night, do you think I'm going to walk through that group? I'm going to cross the street, or I'm going to dip, dodge, and duck. I'm going to take a different route. And rightfully so. You have to take in information. You'd be a fool not to say, well, damn, I done got robbed by dudes that look just like this 5 times in a row, but I can't make a prejudice about this. I can't prejudge, so I'm just going to walk past them anyway and get robbed again. You can't do that. You have to have some type of prejudice. Where you cross the line is when you start doing and taking actions against your bias, against your prejudice, and it detrimentally affects someone. Prime example of that would be the idiot George Zimmerman. And I'm talking to you, George. You want to come see me? Come see me. You're not going to like the results. I will say that. If you step to me, trust me, you're going to get a totally different result than what you got before. His bias was not wrong per se. If you see somebody walking through your neighborhood who you've never really seen before, something looks out of place, your neighborhood looks one way, and all of a sudden you see this one thing stroll through your neighborhood that kind of doesn't fit, there's nothing wrong with you being like, wait a minute, hold up, what's going on here? And there's nothing wrong with you checking it out and keeping your eye on it. But where you cross the line is when you just immediately see this thing that doesn't fit or doesn't belong, or so you think, and you immediately jump on the phone, call a cop, and say, this person's about to be up to no good. You don't know that yet. And then when you start following somebody and making them feel uncomfortable, that is where the problem comes in. I do it all the time. When I grew up in my other neighborhood, before I moved to this house, I was in a neighborhood that was, a little bit in a lower socioeconomic bracket than what I'm in now. And trust me, my neighborhood was predominantly black. But if I saw some kids stroll through the neighborhood that I've never seen before, or not even kids, if I saw people, and these were black people, I saw black people. If I saw a black person strolling through the neighborhood who I knew didn't live there or I thought didn't live there, I would be like, what's going on? But I wouldn't stare them down. I would just be like, let me I'm going to keep this off the corner of my eye, because now my DC coming out at me. I grew up in DC in the 80s. So now my DC in the 80s vibe is coming out. I'm like, all right, I'm going to let them do their thing. They ain't not hurt nobody, right? But I'm going to keep an eye on them. And then they go, and then if I see, they just visiting so-and-so, they just strolling through the neighborhood, ain't nothing happen. But somewhat of a bias kicks in. I've had white people stroll through my neighborhood, and I'm like, damn, where they come from? White family pushing a baby, what they doing around here? And I look, and I be like, so they bought that house around the corner. I've done that in this house. Seen a white family strolling through, and I said, okay. But I kept my eye on it. I was like, I saw a white dude. Like I said, I saw a white dude just walking. I ain't never seen him. I've never seen this dude before, ever. And I kept my eye on him. And then once you figure people out, then you let people go on their way. People are entitled to make moves, but we inherently have biases that kick in. So again, my bias, I'm going to tell y'all, my bias and my prejudice is towards first generation Latinos that move into this country because they live differently than I do. I'm not used to people buying a house and having multiple families living in one house. I'm used to saying, hey, if y'all gonna live like that, why don't y'all buy an apartment building? I'm not used to people taking a single family home and turning it into a multifamily home. I'm not used to that. I'm not used to people parking cars all over. I'm not used to people having 12 cars in a residential neighborhood. Now, if this was my parents' house, if y'all ever seen Dallas, my parents got a driveway longer well, not as long as Dallas. Jock Ewan and Sue Ellen Ewan, Miss Ellie Ewan, they had the longest driveway in the world. But if you've ever been down north in South Carolina, country homes have driveways built for 10 and 12 cars. Hell, some people driveways some homes have driveways built for 40 cars. The Washington, D.C. area does not, at least not this neighborhood. You should show some respect, but it's a difference in living. It's a difference in values. And so where I'm going at with this is I'm moving into the segregation. Rich people segregate themselves from poor people for a reason. They live a different type of lifestyle. They want to surround themselves with people who are making particular type of moves and who move like them and who live like them. Now, that was one of the faults of me and my wife, because my wife and I, we could have afforded, we qualified for a lot more home and a lot more money than what we actually paid. But me and my wife, we're kind of frugal people. I'm not paying $900,000 or $1 million for a house. Not going to do it. Number one, I don't even know if we could really afford $1 million house. So why are you even saying I can qualify for 1 million, 1.2? I don't even know why you're doing this to me. But we could afford a lot more than the 400,000 that we paid. So the or 400, 450, I don't know what it was. It's like four something. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just throwing numbers out. But the point that I'm trying to make is that sometimes I understand why rich people pay. You pay to live next door to somebody who you pay to keep certain people out of your neighborhood, whether they black, white, Hispanic, Asian, even hell, Native American, I guess. I'm not trying to throw Native Americans under the bus because y'all had a hard time. But what I'm trying to say is you have to live next door to people. The reason why some people pay $700,000, $900,000 for a home, I get it now. Is because you're trying to keep other people out. And that's not to try and say that people who make $700,000, $900,000 all live right. But in most of the neighborhoods I've gone in, you don't see this type of stuff. Anybody can buy a $300,000 or $400,000 home in the DC metro area. That's nothing special. So you have to sometimes price out certain people. It's called segregation. This is segregation. There's a main reason why some neighborhoods are predominantly white, some neighborhoods are predominantly black, some neighborhoods are predominantly Hispanic. You have some neighborhoods that are predominantly Asian. We have one around here. Whole dang on block, Asian family. Because when the homes were built, all of them came over here together and they bought the homes. And they had the homes built and they took the street. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you want to live around people who culturally move like you and maybe also who look like you so you can feel comfortable. There's nothing wrong with a group of white people wanting to have their own area so that they can speak their mind freely, I guess, or just be around people who move like them. You have to. There's nothing wrong with it. But now I get it because trust me, every other week I think about putting this house up for sale. I swear to God, I love this house because I've done so much work with my own two hands. I basically remodeled this whole house with my own two hands. And to do all of that and put all that much time and effort into a place and have a particular family move in directly across the street from you with a bunch of foolishness, you should just understand how it could piss you off. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've had thoughts about them. It's almost turned me into a racist against Latinos, against all of them. But I have to understand and realize these are first generation Latinos. You look at Americans align more with the Unabomber than anything else. And y'all know y'all probably y'all getting offended because I'm talking about the Unabomber. But most Americans, we live secluded. The Unabomber lived in the damn woods. I do believe, if my facts can recall, the Unabomber lived in the damn woods. He said, I don't want to see another human being ever. I just want to see one in passing, say hi every now and then leave. You look at most American families live like that. We say, hey, we have a relative to say they coming over. Well, let a relative come knock on your door without saying that they coming over. Americans are like, wait a minute, what you doing over here? I just came to visit. You couldn't call first? That's the first thing we're going to say. And then the second thing we're going to say, well, what time you leaving? That's Americans. Black Americans, white Americans. What time you leaving? Okay. What's them bags for? Oh, I thought maybe I could spend the night. No. You good. Americans are just, we don't do a bunch of that. But the immigration, the Latino families, they're very family oriented. I'm not trying to say that there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to say there's a difference. And also, I think what this family's doing across the street is they're sponsoring other people to come here because there's always people living in that basement. They've turned that damn basement into, like I told you, it's about 8, 9 people down there. They got a family of 5 that live up top. And during the summertime, minivans pull up and 6, 7 people jump out of each minivan and they all stay there. I'm not making this up. I do not make this up. And don't not one person out of all 18, 19 people in that house at one time, not one person cuts the grass during the summertime, except when they're about to have a party. So they cut the grass like 3 times because I'm talking about when they're about to have an outdoor party because they have gatherings all the time. But when they're about to have an outdoor cookout, then you'll see them cutting the grass for 9 hours because the lawnmower keep choking on them because the grass too high. And they be out there raking. And I'm like, if you cut your grass every week, you wouldn't have to do any of this. There'd be no need for a rake, no need for your lawnmower to be choking, no need for you to take 11 hours to cut a grass. But this is what they do. And this is why I say segregation. I'm just reading an article. I was just looking at an article, and I wish I could look at it right now, but people always want to look at, there's an article talking about they want to turn, I think, a white neighborhood, they want to put affordable housing into some white neighborhood. I don't even know what white neighborhood it is. White people, y'all ought to be scared. I know I would. I don't want to live around affordable housing people. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm prejudiced against poor people. I like poor people, but they just live. I don't want to live next door to you. You live totally different. Trust me, I got tenants. I have tenants. And my tenants aren't even poor. Some of them, they're not poor, but some of them have poor values. I swear to God. I had a tenant tell me he wasn't going to pay my rent because his daughter was graduating from college. So he wanted to throw her a college party and he needed the rent money to do so. And he literally was late on his rent because he wanted to have a party. I don't make this up. I've gotten excuses about grandma's dying, so you can't pay the rent. And I'm like, what, did she die with my money? Is her money in her hands, in her cold, stiff hands? And you going there to pry it out? If so, okay, fine. But otherwise, I don't even know why you need to tell me this. A poor person can't afford to live next door to a rich person. You can't afford to take a 3,000 square foot house and turn it into affordable housing. There's no way you can do that because a poor person shouldn't want to. That's just more house for you to take care of. Trust me, when we moved into this house is probably, I think, 2 times as big as the house we had. Then you got to feel like, damn, I got to furnish every room. You don't have to furnish every room in the house, but human beings feel compelled to do stuff like that. I got to furnish this thing. Then you got more pipes that you got to cover. You got more pipes that you have to take care of. And trust me, all houses have moving parts. Anything that has a moving part is bound to break. Hell, it doesn't even have to be a moving part. Pipes don't move, but the water moves through them. And that pipe eventually is going to break. Water heater is going to break. You have to cut your grass. You have to keep your grass cut. You should. You can't just move into a neighborhood, turn it into affordable housing, and then just stick a bunch of poor people in with a bunch of rich people and then think everybody's going to get along. You cannot do that. And similarly, this is also too, I've been reading articles about Google employees and they had this whole HBCU, Google West or Howard West movement. And these HBCUs were linked up with Google and all of these companies. Stop trying, Black people, I'm talking specifically to you. Stop always trying to be where the white man is. I get it. Google employees make a boatload of money. They make a crap load of money. But this is where you should be looking at your Black leaders who have tech companies. You should be looking at Don Peoples. He married a white woman. He don't care about you Black people. Don Peoples, Mayor Marion Barry actually helped Don Peoples get started building in the real estate empire. Don Peoples should be hiring a boatload of Black people. It's okay for you to be segregated. As long as, hell, if y'all favorite friend on planet Earth, Sean Carter, owns Tidal, which is a music streaming company, he should be hiring and having a pipeline for Black people to be employed in the tech industry. If y'all other favorite Black person, Oprah Winfrey, y'all think she gonna be y'all Black leader, y'all love Oprah. I don't know why y'all love Oprah. But if she's so special, she should be hiring a bunch of Black people and have a pipeline to Black universities And she should be hiring black people. It's okay for white people to have white spaces. Let Google have their Google culture. And then you start throwing different cultures in together. And now you hear about all these culture clashes up at Google. Because you know black people gonna want to come in and you're gonna want to have your culture, they're gonna want to have theirs. And now people are clashing. It's okay. We need to get to this is what I'm trying to say. It's okay for black people to have their space, white people to have their space, Latinos to have their space, and Asians have their space. And we all interact like at some point in time, you eventually come together, but it's okay to come together and leave. And it's okay to sometimes say, hey, look, I just want to chill in my space for now. There's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is government imposed segregation that basically says you have to drink out of this water fountain. Now, from a government perspective, that is wrong. And also, even from a business perspective, you can't just say, okay, well, this is, we're only going to serve certain people here. But hey, there are certain businesses that operate like that. There are women-only gyms. There are boys-only schools. Trust me, I went to one. I went to a boys-only school. There are girls-only schools. We segregate. But then we turn around and everyone wants to talk about segregation is evil, but you don't hear anybody trying to tear down an all-girls Catholic school or an all-boys Catholic school. You don't hear them being attacked. You don't hear nobody attacking an all-women's gym. But women are like, hey, we need an all-women's gym because we tired of getting looked at when we go to co-ed gyms. They have their space. There's nothing wrong with being prejudiced. So I'm going to end it like this. And I hope I've articulated the point. If not, please send me an email. If you want me to clarify, and I'll make short videos directly answering your questions, and hopefully I can add specificity to it. But there's nothing wrong with being prejudiced, so long as you do not act on your prejudices. You can't just assume, that he's big and he's black. He looked like an animal charging towards me, so I shot him. Or, you just can't act on prejudice. It's okay to say, I got my eye. Quick story. When me and my wife were looking for homes, we were looking for a home 10 years ago. When we were in our early 30s, we were looking for our second home. This was after we had already bought our first home. And the market crashed. We had the big real estate crash of 2008, 2009. Me and my wife were younger then. We was in our 30s, I think. We went looking at houses. We went to this one neighborhood on the golf course. And so, near the country clubs. Well, no, near the golf course. It wasn't a country club, near a golf course. So a white lady realtor was there. And there was other older black people maneuvering and walking around. And she spoke to this one black family. She was talking with them. I heard her. And then she came over to us. And, I'm wearing my little, hip hop type gear. I'm not dressed like the older blacks. I dress more street. I got on jeans and a big t-shirt, bigger jeans. This was before the skinny jean look came into play. And she came over and was talking to us. Hey, she was nice. And she didn't say anything crazy. She said, hey, smiled, talk with us. But then she threw this in. She didn't throw this in when she was talking to the other family. She threw this in with me. Yeah, so you're on the golf course, so you have to keep your grass cut. You have to take your trash. You have to keep your yard looking nice and clean. And she made sure to get that plug in. And me and my wife left, and I said, yeah, you see how she said that to me? Because, people, and look, I'm not mad. But she saw a young black dude dressed the way I was dressed. And she made probably a little assumption like, hey, he doesn't look like, your older homeowner that likes to stay home and take care of the yard. I'm not mad at her for saying that. There's nothing wrong with that. What would have been wrong if she had kicked me out the door, prevented me from coming in because she saw me. So there's nothing wrong with prejudice. She just threw in a nice little remark. And she was basically just dropping a little gem, a little knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you segregating and saying, hey, look, I can't live here. Next house I get, I got to live around people who make $300,000 a year like I do. I need to be in the $800,000 price range with homes because I can't be, there's nothing wrong with you doing that. I'm telling you, poor people and rich people do not mix. Not living next door to each other. No, they do not. Maybe in an apartment building where people can't see, where you don't have no grass to cut and people can't look on the inside of your house. My father used to always tell me this. Let me say this real quick. My father used to always say this when we were young, because when we were young growing up in the 80s, when you're a Generation X child, see this Generation Y and Z, I don't know what y'all, we failed y'all. Because I know when I came up, we couldn't leave the house until I scrubbed them toilets, until my sister washed them dishes, and I took out the trash, and we had our rooms clean. Our parents had their own personal slaves. We took care of the house, and we couldn't leave the house on the weekend without getting our work done. But my father used to always tell us, man, the inside of your house really can look like crap, but you got to keep your outside looking good. Because not everybody goes into your house, right? People, your neighbors, half your neighbors have never been in your house. All of your neighbors. In this day and age, neighbors don't come in other neighbors' house. You see people outside. Your inside of your house can look like a damn hurricane went through it. But your outside should always look fantastic. Your car should be neat and in your driveway or parked properly. Your grass should be cut and looking neat. And if you got trash in front of your house, pick it up. Like these Hispanics across the street from me. If you probably can't see in this picture, but there's a water bottle been sitting out there for 4 weeks. They refuse to pick it up. And it may not be theirs, but it's in front of your house. I've picked up much trash that's just in front of my house. Just pick it up and put it in your trash bin. But my father was correct. We could not gather in front of the house. If me and my friends, if 2 of my friends came over the house and we stood outside and was talking more than 5 minutes, my father would be like, hey, y'all take this out back. I got a big deck and a big gazebo. Y'all get in the backyard and talk. There's no need for y'all to be standing out front, gathering around. We could not do it. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to live around people who live like you. And again, like I say, in an apartment complex, nobody knows how you live. So maybe you can put rich people and poor people in the same apartment building. Not unless those poor people going to start fussing every night and raising Cain and blasting their music. You can't do that. But you have to live and you have to be around people who live like you. And it may not be segregating by economics. It may not be segregating by race. You may choose to segregate based upon common cultural experiences. I like to live this way. You like to live this way. You black, I'm white. You Asian and I'm black. But me and you are on the same page. We like to keep our grass cut. We like to keep our yards looking nice. We don't like a whole bunch of noise on the street. Me and you need to live in the same neighborhood. That may be your way of segregating, but people segregate. And there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it is when you start government sanctioning segregation or you start prohibiting people from moving in certain ways that prohibits their pursuit of happiness or prohibits their rights. And again, I'm telling y'all, because white people tried it with us in the 60s and 70s. They said, hey, look, they told their neighbors, hey, look, if you sell your house, dog, this was white people back in the 70s and probably even the 80s. They told their neighbor, if you sell your house, let us know, and us other neighbors will buy your house because we want to control who lives next door to us. And most of those decisions were based on race back then. But now you think about it, South Central, there's certain parts of LA that used to be all white. And them white people, they saw when black people moved in, they said, these people live different from me. I'm getting the hell out of here. And you saw what South Central went through in the 80s? You saw what they went through. So can you blame a white person for getting the hell out? You can't. And so, like I say, these Hispanics is across the street from me now. They have the right, or Latinos, whatever you want to call them, they have the right to move next door to me. And I have the right to want to segregate myself again and say, I'm selling my house and I'm going around some different people. So I'm going to leave this block and I'm going to go live next door. And this time I'm going to up my price range so that these people can't afford to be next door to me. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's all I wanted to drop on you guys. I know I talked too long, but I'm trying to make my point, and I'm trying to give you some specificity so you guys don't think I'm a total racist, which some of you people already do think, but I ain't even thinking about y'all. So this is the Political Brown Kid. I'm signing out of here. Have a good day. Peace.